Very much, Chair, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all, to delegates. On behalf of the United Nations Environment Program, through its regional office for Latin America and the Caribbean based in Panama, and the Cartagena Convention Secretariat based in Kingston, Jamaica, I would like to provide an overview of some of the actions being taken to prevent marine plastic litter and microplastics pollution in Latin America and the Caribbean. The presentation will start with an initial overview of some of the regional frameworks that exist for marine litter management. I will then outline some of the regional and national action plans already developed or under development, a summary of some of the key regulatory actions being taken on single-use plastics, interventions and projects to reduce plastic waste and marine litter, a summary of some of the major knowledge management, capacity building, and awareness raising activities, ongoing and other related projects and initiatives, and end with a few concluding remarks and recommendations. The key regional frameworks that govern the work of UNEP would be through the Forum of Ministers of Environment for Latin America and the Caribbean, and the Conference of Parties to the Cartagena Convention and its protocols. Those decision-making fora have provided specific mandates for UNEP to support the development and implementation of national and regional action plans to reduce marine litter and plastics, to encourage regional coordination and collaboration between the various UNEP offices, but also with relevant multilateral environmental agreements such as the Basel Convention, to facilitate more coordinated response to requests from member states and contracting parties to support them in specific marine litter and plastics management projects, including the ratification and sign-on to relevant regional and global agreements, including the land-based sources of marine pollution protocol. Fundamentally, both of these decision-making fora are encouraging the UNEP to work towards more circular economy approaches, waste as a resource, and this has been reflected in some of the new projects and activities we have been engaged in. As a regional seas convention, the major instrument which governs our work on pollution is the Land-Based Sources of Marine Pollution Protocol, which was adopted in 1999 and entered into force in 2010. It focuses on issues relating to pollution from land-based sources and activities, pollution from ships, and pollution caused by dumping. As far as the development and implementation of regional and national action plans, our regional office has led the development of a marine litter action plan for the Northeast Pacific, currently under final review and hoped it will be completed in the coming months. It focuses on 6 key areas, including cooperation, education and awareness, monitoring and research, governance, infrastructure, and control and surveillance. Parallel to that has been an effort in Panama to develop a national marine litter action plan with similar lines of action, focusing on awareness and education, legislation and governance, financing, cleaning and restoration, and research. The expected launch for that action plan is December this year. Other relevant regional and national action plans include one for the Southeast Pacific, National Action Plan for Belize, and a National Action Plan for Brazil. Within the framework of the Cartagena Convention Secretariat in 2014, we updated our Regional Action Plan for Marine Litter Management, which was first developed in 2010, and that also focuses on 5 key areas, including knowledge management and awareness, monitoring and assessment, policy, institutional and legal reforms, integrated solid waste management. That action plan eventually led to the development of a regional node for marine litter management. This regional node is hosted by the Gulf and Caribbean Fisheries Institute, a regional non-governmental organization, and ourselves as the Cartagena Convention Secretariat, and supports the global partnership on marine litter, for which UNEP, through its global program of action, is the Secretariat. Significant efforts have taken place in the region over the last 2 to 3 years on the issue of single-use plastics, including styrofoam packaging. And both the regional office and the regional Seas office have been involved in developing interactive maps and tools still in development to document the actions being taken at country level, at national level, but also at municipal and local level. These interactive maps are expected to provide information on what bans have taken place, which ones are in discussion, and who are the specific contact persons and agencies for which more information can be obtained. So far, over 60 national or local regulations have been identified in over 27 countries, and assessments are ongoing in Colombia and Mexico. I would now like to move to some of the major projects and activities that are taking place in the region, and to start off with a plastic waste minimization project in Jamaica that's focusing on several key areas, including policy development, advocacy, and on-the-ground pilot activities. But in particular, I'd like to highlight a regulatory impact assessment, which was recently developed to provide recommendations as to how best to approach the management of plastic waste and plastic packaging material, focusing primarily on cost-benefit analysis, hotspot analysis, and identifying what are some of the key regulatory and legislative interventions that might be needed to give full effect to the bans that were put in place. We believe a tool such as this is something that could be replicated throughout the region. The other activities that we would like to highlight would be the work that's taking place in collaboration with the tourism sector, working towards clean seas and sustainable tourism in the Caribbean. This pilot activity was conducted in St. Lucia that focused on a study of single-use plastics within the accommodation services industry, and came up with an 8-step pathway to action, a sort of how-to guide for hotels on phasing out the use of single-use plastics. Again, a significant output that is particularly relevant to the countries and that are heavily dependent on the tourism sector and targeted specifically at the tourist industry and hotels in terms of how to address this issue of single-use plastics. One of the initiatives that has taken place within the framework of the Cartagena Convention is the Trash-Free Waters International Initiative, an activity which was based on the Trash-Free Domestic Waste Program in the US, and with some financial support from the US EPA. The activities that normally typified that program were conducted in Jamaica and Panama. Some of the key elements of those activities were to foster partnerships between government, non-governmental organizations, civil society, and the private sector. The activities focused on improving waste collection at a local level, to encouraging reuse and recycling, and also generating new livelihood opportunities. And in the case of Jamaica, we had upcycling of plastic waste as well as composting as some of those livelihood activities. Within the framework of the regional node for marine litter hosted by the Gulf and Caribbean Fisheries Institute and our Secretariat, there are several other projects and activities that we have been involved in. Not enough time to go into all of them in detail, but to highlight few that delegates might find interesting: the work done by St. George's University on the analysis of microplastics in commercially important fish. Interesting finding, all the fish that were analyzed had microplastics in them. some work done with the youth, the Caribbean Youth Environment Network, to present on research findings at the Gulf Caribbean Fisheries Institute annual conference. We've also engaged in a number of outreach efforts, social media campaigns such as Plastic Free July, Plastic Free Christmas. And in terms of some of the upcoming projects and activities, with a new project funded by the European Union focusing on multilateral environmental agreements, we will be working to support the development of additional national marine litter action plans, as well as community-based projects on plastics and marine litter management. Some funding has been received from Environment Canada to address the issue of abandoned and lost and discarded fishing gear. And we are currently in the process of developing new proposals targeting the European Union and the government of Germany to address plastics and the issue of the circular economy. Knowledge management, capacity building, and awareness raising are critical parts of the program, projects, and activities that UNEP is involved in. We have significantly supported the global Clean Seas effort, and we're happy to say that 20 Latin American Caribbean governments have already joined the Clean Seas program. And over the last few years, we've seen significant activities in Brazil, in Colombia, in Jamaica, in Grenada, among others. And through one of our projects, the Global Environment Facility funded IW Eco Project, we developed a short video on breaking up with single-use plastics, Caribbean style. So taking a global tool, a global outreach effort, but making it more relevant based on the region and the culture. Other related ongoing and upcoming initiatives include the development of a model law dealing with single-use plastics and marine pollution. We were successful as UNEP in getting a project concept approved by the GEF for reducing marine plastic pollution at the city level and accelerating the transition to a circular economy. We are now in the full project preparation phase, and that project is expected to benefit Colombia, Jamaica, and Panama. And at the same point, in the same process of development, UNEP is working on a Jeff Islands project that's involving Antigua and Barbuda and many of the small islands within the region. And again, looking at the issue of plastics and chemicals management and a more circular approach. Other activities include the development of an action plan 2021 to 2022 on the Intergovernmental Network on Chemicals and Waste, as well as a coalition for the progressive closure of dump sites in Latin America and the Caribbean. As a regional seas program, we've also been trying to foster transboundary regional seas cooperation, and one that has borne fruit is a cooperation between the Cartagena Convention Secretariat and the OSPAR Commission that has resulted in the development of a harmonized marine litter monitoring approach. This manual was only finalized last year, and we are currently looking to test the model, particularly within the smaller islands. The methodology is already being used in the island of Bonaire, and the main basis for it is to have a more quantitative and replicable approach to the monitoring of marine litter and in particular marine plastics. And technically, I want to end with just a mention on the issue of ship-generated plastic waste. Normally, a significant amount of attention is given to land-based sources of waste and litter and plastics. But we consider that there's also a need to address ship-generated plastic waste. This is being done in collaboration with the International Maritime Organization. And we wanted to highlight a publication that was completed in 2018 on a study of port reception facilities in Caribbean small island developing states through our Regional Activity Center for Oil Spills that's based in Curacao. We are hoping to build on that study next year and seeing how we can have a more integrated approach to addressing both land and ship-generated sources of waste and litter. And finally, with perhaps a few concluding remarks and recommendations, there's no doubt that the issue of plastics, microplastics management is a significantly high political priority for the Latin America and Caribbean region. We believe that there are several regional and sub-regional mechanisms and frameworks that already exist to address plastics and marine litter management, some of which are done through UNEP, but there's a room for improving the linking and the collaboration between these different platforms, especially at the GRULAC level. We've also identified that there are several ongoing and planned projects and activities that will focus on solid waste management, microplastics and microplastics, some being led by UNEP and others by other regional and global organizations that the countries within the Latin American and Caribbean region could benefit from. It's very important that we have synergies and collaboration between these different initiatives, some at national level, some at sub-regional level, to ensure that we have the greatest impact and benefit to the region. And to just end by saying that UNEP continues to be fully committed to support member states within the Latin American and Caribbean region to address this issue. We are working to enhance our partnerships with several global and regional partners, including the development banks, multilateral environmental agencies, and other global NGOs. So we look forward to the discussions and to help learn how best we could support the efforts of member states. So on behalf of my colleagues who helped prepare this presentation from our regional office, Mr. Jordi Porn and Ms. Maria Alejandra Fernandez, and myself, Chris Corbin, thank you again, Chair. Thank you, delegates, for the time. And we are open to any questions that you might have. Thank you very much.